Hey guys, I appreciate it's been a while, but welcome back to the channel. I thought I'd get stuck back in with a replay analysis. This is CMO 140281 in their AMX 1375 on Erlenberg. So, as per usual, we'll have a look at the initial place that CMO wants to go to in this game. They are top tier in their AMX 1375, and a top tier light tank, especially one with an autoloader, is very, very dangerous. So we're going to take a quick look and see where they decide to stop. They end up in the mid, quite nice position, and they immediately pick out one of the top tier medium tanks, the T-34-100. This is a very good pickup at the start of the game, and they do manage to get a fantastic shot off with the last one aiming for the engine, catching a fire and doing significant damage, and that T-34-100 is not going to make it across to the position they wanted to by the castle. So right from the get-go, CMO, as well as a couple of other friendlies, have control of this sort of side. CMO actually picks up a Crusader as well, a tier 5 light tank, and actually takes a shot at them. And you'll notice that the tier 7 medium didn't even see them, but the tier 5 light tank had enough view range to pick them out, even with the camo bonus from the camo net as well as the bush. So they have to fall back and reload, and they don't know what's there at the start of the battle. There could be about 5 or 6 enemy tanks going around the very south across the K line, but doesn't seem to take any fire and is able to reposition. One thing you'll notice about CMO in this game is that they have quite an itchy trigger finger for a light tank. They look for shot opportunities more than they do spotting opportunities, and that's absolutely fine in this case because they are top tier with an autoloader and they're not sitting out in the open looking for them. You'll notice that CMO has already consistently shown that they know which bushes to use and how to use them, and this allows them to get some interesting unorthodox lines of sight, especially this example here, just catching the end of that OI. Obviously it doesn't provide them with a shot, but it sort of reactivates, restarts that countdown timer of how long that OI is going to be spotted for the friendly units. And unfortunately they're a little bit too close to the BZ-78, but I think that was a fair shot to take, considering, and especially considering now that nobody is shooting at CMO, they can be fairly confident to hide behind that side of the building and expose themselves to the south because there's nobody there. So CMO is now pretty comfortable just waiting for an opportunity to arise. They don't have to move just yet. They find the 3601H and they do spot that M445, so they reposition for an angle and take a easy shot into the side of their turret. You'll notice they weren't spotted for that shot, which is a testament to the camo of the 1375 and the skills and equipment they've got loaded up on this thing, because I don't think the camo net was even active there. They're getting some nice spotting damage on the 36, but coming up is a little bit of a lesson. This ARL 44 is going to cross, CMO takes the shot, and they will get spotted for it. So in terms of the reaction, CMO does exactly the right thing here. They fall back, making sure to obstruct the line of fire from the heavy tanks to them, and they head straight towards the castle area. They know there's nobody at the south, so they're not going to get hit in the flank while they do this. I would have just liked it if they'd gone sooner, as soon as they'd shot, because based on their previous attack on the BZ-58, they would have known that the ARL would spot them from that distance. So instead of sitting there and waiting for the sixth sense, I think it would have been far better for them to just take the shot and immediately do that, or just go behind the building as before. But moving on, we do see that they've found a Jackson as well as that Crusader that they saw at the start of the battle. Taking a look at the teams at this point, you can see that CMO's team is down by 3 tanks, but the hit point totals are pretty even. CMO themselves with full health, as well as this T29 that narrowly misses the artillery shell, pretty much propping up the hit point total for the team. But CMO decides to fall back here, and they could have easily gone and dealt with the Jackson and the Crusader, in my opinion. Even if they missed a shot, they should be able to deal with the Jackson in 3 shots, and then a half decent ram from the AMX 1375 should kill the Crusader because it was only on about 30 or 40 health, something like that. But I think CMO is going back to deal with this push coming through the middle from the enemy heavy tanks. You can see that the friendlies T29 and Stritzwang 74 have also spotted this, or at least an opportunity to flank them, but they are putting themselves at risk because they are exposing their flank now to that Jackson and the Crusader. CMO is trying to pick out these advancing enemies, doesn't really seem to pick one out in their current position, trying to see if they can catch that OI out, but no luck. So they decide to move further northeast to try and shore up the defences there. They do catch out the ARL-44, who's made a dash up the top, and unfortunately the ARL catches them out again, but they don't concern themselves with that. The ARL has too much armour and too much health to be reliably killed in a single clip, even with supporting fire. So they decide to move on and take up position to see what they can do in the northeast. Now, coming up here is something I think I should mention about the French lights when this Basotto dies. I think CMO would have taken that shot if they had the chance against the Basotto, but I think the French lights and mediums do tend to have bad gun elevation, so I think CMO just went a bit too far forward and was unable to elevate the gun to get the shot off. And there's another mistake I think that's comes up here. The Skoda spots CMO as they move up, and CMO on the right here, there's no cover and they know there's an AMX-12T, and the AMX-12T nearly tracks them in the open, which could be very dangerous, especially against an autoloader like that, but they do manage to sneak across, and they decide to stick to this house and proxy spot the Skoda. It does do some significant damage, but it also sort of bottlenecks CMO here until this Skoda is dead. And a tier 6 medium for a tier 7 light tank, especially when the tier 7 light tank is outnumbered, isn't a great trade. And now they are getting peppered by this AMX-12T, but the AMX-12T is not quick enough to get out of the way of the return fire. Just a quick note about the remaining players in the game. The opposite number, I suppose, to CMO in this game, the WZ131, has played it very cagey. They have not been doing that much active scouting like CMO has done. They're actually holed up on the right-hand side of the map there, in almost the corner, I suppose, but they're sort of hanging back and letting other tanks do the scouting. And that's okay, considering I think you can put 100mm on the WZ131, so 250 damage per shot at this kind of range is pretty lethal at this tier. But nevertheless, the Skoda gets destroyed and CMO begins to push up, and they do get spotted again here, and it is the WZ131. TMO gets away with it again and only gets tracked and decides to return fire. The WZ stays for another shot, and I don't think they are using the top gun with that kind of damage roll unless they got astronomically unlucky. But CMO is able to put a few shots in and get behind the hill, and they've sort of opened up the northeastern corner of the map so they can allow their tank destroyers and medium tanks to shoot with impunity. CMO now is looking for some other opportunities, maybe in the middle, trying to catch that Panther M10 or maybe the AMX-12T, but as they come up they do stumble upon a golden opportunity here, and the WZ131 is reversing up a hill. I do like that CMO held their shot there. I think they were trying to wait until the WZ got behind the tree, but I do agree with what they did there, taking the shot early, because the intra-clip reload is not great on the 1375, so I think if they hadn't taken the shots early, the WZ would have had the time to get back into cover, and the ambush would have been essentially a failure. But nevertheless, the OI pushing up the middle, a very unfortunate shot there, which might prove to be really detrimental to CMO and their team later on. That could have really done with going in, but it doesn't. It's a random generator game, so it was an unlucky bounce, especially with premium ammo in the side of an OI. Now, the bulk of the remainder of the team is on screen now. It's CMO and a Panther. The other two tanks are a Hellcat and artillery, who's been putting in a decent effort over this game. CMO and the Panther decide to play it quite cagey and head down the eastern side of the map, down eventually to try and pick out the enemy artillery. They try and catch out this Panther M10, but they don't do it. They stay quite far away from them. You'll notice that white ring on the minimap. It will be impossible from the Panther's last position for CMO to spot them. They are very definitely looking for the enemy artillery. I'd say this is a strategic risk from CMO here. I'm not going to say it's a mistake, because they are driving a light tank. a heavy tank especially, or a medium tank, or a tank destroyer, I mean, look at the Panther on the map, how slow it is. They won't be able to turn around and get back, but 1375 should have no problem getting back to defend the base before at least one tank captures it. And they do pick up the enemy artillery as well. And the OI, the most likely person there in the cap, does get reset by a blind shot from the friendly artillery. So, returning to that shot that bounced from CMO earlier, if that had gone in, it's possible that the Crusader could have taken out the OI and relieved a bit of pressure, but more importantly, CMO, they're waiting for the Panther to turn up so they could enter the capture circle at the same time. Now, it would technically be quicker if CMO had just gone into the cap circle and then the Panther would come in, but the enemy team now have less time to react. And there are 2 tanks in each circle, and you'll start to see in the chat that the team is egging on the Hellcat to just drive in, spot the cap, and the Crusader to take a Hail Mary shot to reset, and that would put the friendlies in front. But unfortunately, the enemy Jackson actually tracks back here, and it is very, very unfortunate because CMO sees them, shoots first, and bounces, and the Jackson is able to get the return shot off and reset the cap. Jackson angled very well there, and that was probably the only way that they were going to bounce a premium shell from a 1375 and guaranteeing that his team would win the game. So a very unfortunate loss there for CMO and their teammates. In terms of strategic decision making, I think CMO didn't really put a foot wrong in terms of the information they had at hand. They, at the end there, wanted to attack the enemy base and try and release pressure from the friendly base, because at the end of the day, there's only a Hellcat. The 1375, as we saw there, really good at spotting without being spotted, so there is the argument there that they should have defended the base, spotted for the Hellcat, and potentially the Panther if it decided to just stick with the other tier 7. But I don't think it was wrong of them to attack the enemy base, take out the artillery, and sort of relieve pressure. As we saw, 2 of the enemy tanks backtracked to try and deal with the assault, so they would have backtracked for nothing if the 1375 and the Panther just stayed to defend the base, and it's sort of a concentration of force there. But these are sort of the things you learn. As a general rule, I like to just make sure the base is defended and then go and deal with artillery. But then again, there are different ways that people play, and as I say, I don't think CMO was wrong there. Quick word about why I've been off for so long though. I tried to do quite a large sort of project video essay kind of thing. It was just too large. The game was being updated too quickly, and parts of the video were outdated by the time I finished other parts, and it was just a mess, and I fell out of love, I suppose, with the content creation for this game. But I'm back in it now, just drips and drabs with the regular sort of replay analysis. I feel like this is my bread and butter for the moment, and if I want to try doing something like that again, I will probably do that in the future when I get a little bit better at video editing, I suppose. But that concludes this video. If you enjoyed it, consider giving it a like, and if you want more content like this, or if you have ideas, something like that, comment on the video and subscribe if you want to. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one.